All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the City of Groton Committee of the Whole for Monday, April 8, 2024 to order. Time is 6:05. Councilors Piazza, Artali, Sheffield are here. Deputy Mayor Depot is here. Finance Director Uhas is here. We'll move on to the recognition awards and memorials. We don't normally have this for Committee of the Whole, but this is a special week. It's the Weeks of the Young Child, and we had a ceremony and presentation this afternoon, and this is the proclamation. From the Office of the Mayor, City of Groton, Connecticut, proclamation, Week of the Young Child. Whereas Children First Groton, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 6th through 12th, 2024. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our state's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in the community of the City of Groton, Connecticut, and whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of young children birth to age 8 who make a difference in the lives of young children in the City of Groton deserve thanks and recognition, and whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and to the prosperity of our society. Now, therefore, I, Keith Hedrick, Mayor of the City of Groton, do hereby proclaim April 6th through the 12th, 2024, as the Week of the Young Child in the City of Groton, and encourage all citizens to work to support and invest in early childhood in the City of Groton and southeastern Connecticut. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the official seal of the City of Groton this 6th day of April 2024, signed Keith Hedrick, Mayor, City of Groton. So that's the proclamation. Let me let Councilor Norris in. Okay, Councilor Norris joins at 6:07. Councilor Norris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you, and we can hear you loud and clear. All right, we will continue on. New business. So tonight we start our budget presentations, and we're going to start with the mayor's office. Jackie, if you could come up. So for those of you that may not have met Jackie, this is Jackie Nardone. She is the executive administrator of the City of Groton. She is my right-hand person and was intimately involved in the budget. So if we go to general budget, we'll start there. There is a tab. It should be your green tab. It's broken down into legislative, boards and commissions, citizen participation, administration. So the legislation is flat. Boards and commissions went up, and that's due to laptops. Citizens petition, we had some changes due to Groton City Day, and there's no beautification events set up. The administration is a decrease because we removed elections every other year. We have elections, and we removed it for this coming year. And with that, let's just go to page, you can start on page 11, just see the summary. And this is basically for counselors to go to CCM conferences or other conferences. Even though we've underspent, we want to keep that at the same level in the event that there may be legislative things that you guys want to go to. On page 14, go to boards and commissions. That's up 19%. The operating expense is the same, but if you go to page 16, you'll see that we added $3,000 under office supplies, advertising, professional development, and contractual service, office supplies and advertising, sorry. So that is for laptops. not true.
Tablets.
Tablets, thank you, Jackie. Yeah, there's a big difference
Yeah.
in cost.
And that's tablets for the council.
That's
Yes.
tablets for the council.
Yep.
So that is something that the council has talked about back and forth as to whether or not you're interested in doing tablets. Okay, go to citizen participation, that's down 2.35%. And if you look at the beautification community events, that was cut from $2,000 to $300. The Groton Day went from 6,500 to 8,000 because we need additional paper products this year. Is that correct? Okay.
And the city day, sorry, not the city day, the beautification, we don't have any additional planned events, and so that $300 will just be for paying for candy for the town of Groton's 4th of July parade.
Okay. And then moving on, you go to page 20. This is a cover sheet for the administration. This is basically where my salary, Jackie's salary, and the clerk's salary is located. Is there anything, there's nothing really big that we want to go into that. Okay, and with that, I'll open the floor for discussion for any of the line items that we went over. Counselor Sheffield.
Will there be an increase for food expenditures for City Day at all?
So the increase is overall, it's predominantly because they know that they need to purchase paper goods, but it could also fall into if any food expenses have gone up. So it's not just line item for paper goods, it's just the overall.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that's, food was also
Yeah, yep.
included. Okay,
And this is not the entire budget for City Day. There's also budget items under Mary's Parks and Rec
okay.
for other activities and things like that as
Okay.
well. Because that was moved, for those of you that have been here a while, that was moved out from underneath the clerk and is now falls under Parks and Rec. Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Depot.
Is the, under the salary and wages, the estimate for the year end for executive administrator, is that because of overtime last year?
No,
or
so that's
food?
actually, the previous executive administrator was being paid out of our budget, and so once that money gets moved over, it'll be corrected.
So
So
when
for,
these,
so like for 3 or 4 months until we caught it, the person who was in this position, who is now in a different position, was still getting paid out of our cost center.
Oh,
So that
okay.
just has to, that's a transaction that,
So-
finance has to move.
so to answer this additionally, this was put together a little while ago, and we were forecasting based on what's in Springbrook, and we looked at it and said, look, that doesn't make sense. And so what we found out is that while Jackie was fulfilling the duties, Sue, although she had been moved to HR, had not been coded in the GL number. So she wasn't being properly allocated in the general ledger, and they got put into here. That is going to change. She'll be backed out of that, and then the real number will be around 70,000, or actually a little bit less than that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this budget? Okay? And we're going to move on. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Parks and Rec. Well, actually, let me do fire and then and that way you can just stay up here. So Chief Tompkins? So fire is under public safety. It starts on page 59. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chief.
All right, good evening. All right, you have the budget in front of you. The first couple pages are just overall budget. You'll notice that the budget went down quite a bit this year, and we'll talk about that at the end. It's largely due to a drop in capital. The first, page 60 there is a basic breakdown of financing and outgoing money. We don't bring in any money per se. We do, if you look on the bottom, bring in money from West Pleasant Valley Fire District because they contract us for fire and emergency services. And so that's a formula that's worked out through the finance department, and that's how they arrive at the $410,000. The rest of the, would come from taxes to pay for the fire department. On page 61, so that's the nuts and bolts here. You'll notice, I'll just go down and touch on a couple of line items that changed, and then if you have any questions, glad to answer them. We did go up $10,000 in the overtime budget. It's been at $340,000 for, I think, 5 years. So inflation raises, all of that drives those costs up. You will notice the estimate is up this year. We will probably run over the overtime budget, and that is partly due to Captain Cassidy retired, which we knew about, but at the very end of June last year, another firefighter left that we had not planned on. So while we work through that process of hiring, we have to fill the positions with overtime. The overtime budget will be up, but there will be some savings in personnel costs because we're not paying for 2 employees. So it should offset at the end of the year, but we'll have to see because obviously the overtime is being paid out at time and a half. The next group of numbers are all contractual: stipend, safety incentive, clothing allowance, things like that. Sellback of time off, that is holiday time. The employees get holiday time, but obviously we have to work, so they're paid for that time rather than getting the time off. The benefits are all driven by, Ron figures all those out, how much we owe to pension and Blue Cross Blue Shield, OPEB, things like that. So the operating expenses, you'll notice training went down $3,000. And that's because last year we asked for more money because we knew we had new employees coming in. We thought we might send one of the employees to the fire academy. We did not do that, but that one of the employees is fairly inexperienced, so they are currently in classes, training classes. And so we are using some of that money, but we're not going to use it all. So that's why next year I lowered that by $3,000. If you look at, the proposed, there you go. If you go farther down, you'll notice equipment management, maintenance. I asked for $4,000 less there, but if you go 2 line items below that, facilities, I asked for $4,000 more. It's a wash. It's just trying to get it into the line item that we really use it. They used to have more small motors, generators and things like that. Now we use it in facilities for the house generator and things of that nature. So that's why one's up and one's down. The contractual services, that's lawyer fees. Historically, we ask for $10,000 if we're not negotiating, $20,000 if we're going to be in negotiation. So next year, starting the end of January, we'll start negotiating with the union. And so we just put that number in there in case we need it. We haven't recently. We have a good relationship with the union, and we've done a good job keeping those costs down. Vehicle supplies, you'll see, went up $10,000, and that's just the price of doing business. Their big trucks cost a lot of money to maintain. They're getting older. We've done a lot of things to try and maintain them, but they are aging, and so they require maintenance and just normal PM type things, tires, brakes, all those things are very expensive when you get to large trucks. And then the final thing I will point out is the reserve fund. Last year, it was funded at $300,000. This year, it is $100,000. I think we've talked in the past other times. I mean, it could be $500,000. We have to purchase fire trucks, a ladder truck, a pumper truck. So the engines cost, they're running over $1 million. I know Old Mystic is buying one now. It's $1.2 million just for the engine. The aerials are $1.5 million, $2 million. So we put as much aside as we can. That's a decision that really the mayor ultimately makes with discussions with me and the finance director, trying to put away as much as we can so we don't have to bond or bond as little as possible when the day comes where we have to replace those. So if you have any questions on something particular?
Okay. You know, going back to this, there's a couple different schools of thought, and we've talked about this before, about do you set aside money in an account, hoping you're not gonna have to raid that account, and then pay for the vehicles outright, or do you bond them? In our particular case, a couple years ago, we repaired one of the trucks, and the good news is it extended the useful life of that truck. The bad news is both the big trucks are now within 18 months of end of life. And so I am committed to putting money aside when we can, but I'm also committed to try to minimize the negative impact on the mill rate. And we still went up, 7%, but it's a small increase. It went from 3.67 to 3.91. But we were able to put aside $100,000 for the truck. So with that, any questions? Deputy Mayor Depot.
This is a question for Director Uhas. The workers' compensation, is that an actual quote yet, or is that an estimate?
No, that's truly just an estimate.
I thought do we usually use 5%? Because that's 6.5%, right?
That was just rounded, and actually we had to true it up because it was actually below budget in the previous year. So I believe that one was a true up to get that budget amount up to the
Okay.
actuals.
So is there a reason we think it's going to go up that much? Or just because last year our estimate was lower than?
It was a combination of the lower and the percent increase of the 5.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, any other questions or comments on this budget? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mary? So the next budget, the last budget that we're going to review tonight is Parks and Rec. And that's under the purplish, this blue tab, the last blue tab. Thank you. It's on page 82, starts on 82. And with that, Mary, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. So our budget, as for those that don't know, Parks and Recreation has two. We have a recreation side and we have our maintenance side. So our recreational side of our budget is up by 3.62%. A majority of this is contractual, union contracts. There was one of my staff members comes out of this budget recreationally, and they had they ratified their contract this year, but it retros back to 2023, so we have to make all those adjustments. So there's an increase, the main increase is there. There has been kind of a moving of some funds, or some monies. We used to budget contractually for bus trips at $20,000. And since COVID, our bus trips have not been very financially stable. So we're moving that money into a part-time position for a program coordinator, so that we can continue to grow as a department on the recreational side, get somebody to come in and oversee the programs that happen after hours, on the weekends, during the course of the year. It's an 18-hour-a-week position at $22 an hour. So we've moved that money so that you'll see a drop if you go to page 87, where our contractual services, that dropped by 20 grand, but that's the bus trips coming out and our programming money still being budgeted for. So those are the two big changes in the recreational side of the budget, is salaries. There was it was a significant increase with one of the unions with ratification of their contract.
Well, we negotiated both unions, right?
Yeah,
CSEA.
yep.
So
This
just to catch council up real quick, we negotiated 6 collective bargaining agreements this year, or last year, actually. And we found that in some cases, we were significantly below average market value, so we wanted to right-size those so that we wouldn't lose people and have a migration. And so we ended up doing that, and that did impact some budget line items, but overall, we were able to I think, keep it in check.
Yeah, and we also had an increase in minimum wage. It went up from $15 to $15.69. So anybody who starts with us makes $15.69. So there's adjustments for people who've been with us for a couple of years that may not have been there. So,
You want to move on to maintenance, or?
I don't know, you want to do it separate?
Well, okay, fine. Then any questions on this budget? Counselor Sheffield?
The summer playground budget is up by around about 15,000. Is that for multiple, just for one position?
Oh, that's for 25 positions.
25, that's what I was asking,
Yes.
multiple positions?
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
And that's one of those ones that get hits with the minimum wage increase.
Anything else? Counselor Sheffield, okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot?
I have another question for Director Uhas. So on the personnel for Parks and Rec only includes the FICA tax under benefits, is that because all the employees that are under this are also under the maintenance side, and all of the other benefit stuff is credited to the maintenance?
Correct. You'll see when we look at the FT page, there's only 0.4 for 2 positions. The other 0.6 is in the maintenance side, which carries all the benefits.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm reading it right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, moving on to maintenance.
So the maintenance side is up 11.98%. Again, this was contractual contracts. Our Public Works contract got ratified, again, retroed back to 2023. So it affects 3 employees. And that doesn't just affect their baseline salary, it also includes the overtime for weekends in the summertime, at time and a half on Saturdays and double time on Sundays. And it also includes a $30,000 increase in our capital budgeted funds for this year. This year, I'm budgeting for a new truck. We have a Mason dump that's a 2004. It's the dump truck, small dump truck that we use quite a bit in the summertime to haul the seaweed away from the beach in the summertime. It helps us when we have down trees and we have to, cut up tree trunks and limbs and get them off the properties. And we're also going to start budgeting monies for a new tractor. You guys all remember I was here a while back asking for forgiveness because I have a 25-year-old tractor, but the other one's 13 years old. So I like to, over the next couple of years, budget for a new tractor. So I've started that process. So that's the two items in capital.
Any questions on the maintenance budget? Councilor Sheffield?
Is the Parks and Grounds cost, I guess, from 251 to 285?
Again, that's where the salaries of the staff come out.
Okay.
And so our line items are, so they get like 55, it's broken down by percentage by category. So Parks and Grounds is the major, it's 55% of their pay. And then Beach, I think it's 20%, and then one's 15, and then the other's 20. So roughly. So they're broken down by line items in regards to what they, the work they do. And so, but again, that's one of those areas that got hit by the ratification of the contract.
And they do work orders to make sure this is, that it's allocated to the right GL item. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, then that's it. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Mary.
that is the budget review for today. So where are we? So next Monday, on the 15th, we have a public hearing, plus we have a special committee of the whole, talking about planning and zoning, human resources, and the building department. And then we have a mayor and council after a special committee of the whole. So tomorrow is, sorry, next Monday is going to be busy. All right, while we have you here, let's transition to the next thing. Which is honkers and the goose control program.
So I bring to you guys, the council, resolution to extend or continue the contract with Honkers. Honkers has been with us, been with me for 18 years, and they were here when I got here. We've reached out to other companies that do the same service, and it's the most local one is $1,000 a week, and Honkers is going to keep their rate at $700 a week as opposed to $1,000 a week. And she'd like to do it for over 2 years, so that way we can keep that rate for the next 2 years and not have an increase. We did reach out to, so it's Wingman, it's in Lebanon, Lisbon, Connecticut. They were the $1,000 a week. We reached out to Goose Relief out in Greenwich, Connecticut. Their closest satellite is Branford, which is a good hour away. With Honkers, she's right here in Waterford. If I call and there's geese on the beach property at any time of the year, or Washington, and she also does Washington Park and Griswold Point and Thamesview Park. So there's a bunch of facilities that she does for us. She's here within 15 minutes. So she's done a great job. I'd like to extend her contract for the next 2 years and keep our beach clean of goose droppings.
Are there any questions, Deputy Mayor Depot?
I just wanted to comment, I know we've gone over this in all the years past, and, there isn't really another alternative. We're lucky that we have someone so close to us, because she does come, I've run into her at the beach before, actually, I think we're very lucky to have her so close and someone who is willing to
Yep.
to keep doing this work, because it does do a good job of keeping the geese off the grounds there. So I'm in favor of doing it for 2 years. I think, we've quoted it out before, we've tried
Yeah.
before. I don't foresee an additional year being any different. So I think that it would be favorable to do it for 2 years. It's good for her business-wise, it's job security and not having to do another contract. And so I'd be in favor of doing it for 2 years. I think it's a good idea.
Well, and the downside of not doing this is we get our beach shut down, right? I mean, the reason we have to do that, in case people don't understand why we need to do this, is if the geese defecate in the water and the bacteria levels are high enough, then Ledge Light will shut down the beach. And we have a wonderful beach, we'd hate to get it shut down, so it is a good thing that we have here. Any other questions or comments? Counselor Sheffield, sorry.
Yielding to Councilor Piazza.
Okay, Counselor Piazza?
Thank you, Council Sheffield. Thank you. So I just have a couple of questions. So when Honkers comes in, is it seasonal,
Nope, it's year-round.
year-round? Historically, the geese that are there, are these ones that return, does anybody track these geese, that these are the same ones that come back?
Correct. She actually tracks them. There is actually 3 flocks of geese that come to our beach. Some as large as 3 dozen, and some as small as just a dozen. But they are, they migrate back to where they've started, so we have this, it's the same population. They just kind of move around between the beach, Avery Point, and the golf course.
Okay, so she also goes to the golf course?
Nope,
also?
the golf
Just
course
for the
has
beach?
their own border collie that they use. It goes home with the golf maintenance guy.
Okay, so is this is the only intervention for the geese?
For
There's
us.
no other?
Yes, there's,
No meddling with the eggs or anything at all?
We don't coddle eggs here.
no,
Okay,
Yep.
so, and then, so the 3 flocks, so where do they usually hang out at the beach?
well, they're anywhere, the biggest area is the big field behind the Zaberski house, but they're also they also hang out, up on the lawn of the Tyler house. During the summer, when the water gets warmer and the eelgrass starts to grow a little bit higher, they are out in the water, because they eat not the eelgrass itself, but the stuff that grows on it.
And so when we talk about bacteria, not only are the geese donating to bacteria, but do we know what else is donating to the bacteria in the water? Besides when it rains and all the other things, like
So
any other animals, humans, beach goers?
I don't know the
Chemicals in the
answer
water
to
or
that.
anything like
I know the reason why Honkers was hired years ago is because the Ledge Light was shutting the beach down. You couldn't go in the water because of the fecal matter associated with the geese getting spooked or being out there. We get tested every Tuesday from Ledge Light, and we haven't had to be shut down because of any other issues, but we were being shut down because of the fecal matter of geese.
We do not differentiate between fecal chloroform of species.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not looking to see if we're focused on the geese, because that's the problem. And that's what this resolution's about. So let's stay on this.
Well, I feel like I'm staying on that. I didn't
Well, if you're
differentiate,
talking
I was
about,
just saying.
if you're talking about different types of fecal matter, we just drifted away. So let's stay on this.
Well, I think I have the right to ask about the question about the bacteria, how much is donated by the geese and something else. I don't understand why
I don't
I'm
know if
getting
there's,
off track.
I don't know if there's statistics for that. I
Right.
honestly don't know. I don't know what Ledge Light actually, when they come in and take their scoop of water every Tuesday morning, I don't know what they actually test for, but we are never above level.
And that's testing seasonally while the beach is open, correct?
Memorial Day to Labor Day, they come in every Tuesday. And we know our results by Wednesday morning.
Okay.
And we get an email whether or not we have to shut down or not, and we haven't had to.
When's the last time they actually shut down the beach due to the bacteria level being up?
I don't believe well, there might have been a couple of years ago, I think we shut down. But it wasn't because
After a
of
big
geese.
storm,
It was
though.
something after a big storm. It's been a while. I've been here 18 summers, and I think we've closed the water down twice.
Okay. So this basically has decreased the amount of times that the
Correct.
beach is closed because it was on a rise before Honkers actually started due to the geese fecal
Correct.
matter. That
Yeah.
they drove it to that specifically.
Yeah. And it wasn't just, some other history, it wasn't just the water. We had so many geese on the property that you couldn't walk on the sidewalks. Because they had the lifeguards used to spend time shoveling the waste off the sidewalk so people could get from the beach to the restrooms or the showers or the concession stand. So we had an abundance of waste on the property.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Counselor Sheffield?
The price is $700 each year, or is it?
$700 a week,
Oh, $700 a week
correct,
for 2
for the next 2 years,
For
so
the next 2 years.
104 weeks.
104, okay.
Sorry, that was quick math.
$700 per week, okay. And for a 2-year contract?
Correct.
Okay, thank
Right,
you.
52 and 52.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this Mayor and council meeting at 4/15/2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Paul, if you could come up,
You have to take the vote.
second.
We had a motion and a second, we didn't
We
vote.
didn't vote. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, so the next thing is Connecticut Sun, Washington Park collaboration.
So, with me right now is Paul Rector from the Connecticut Sun, Vice President. They approached me latter part of February, early week of March, to collaborate with the city to, one, to help revitalize the basketball court at Washington Park, but also to develop a partnership with the Connecticut Sun, which is the basketball entity at the Mohegan Tribe, and to actually help us encourage having programs and encouraging the kids to participate in sports, basketball being one of them. So Paul can probably talk a little bit more about what the Connecticut Sun is interested in and where we're at in regards to this collaboration. And the mayor and I have had multiple meetings about this over the course of the last couple of weeks to see if we could get to a good conclusion.
Yeah, basically what we're looking to do is enter into an MOU. I have sent the MOU to the city attorney. City attorney has reviewed it. He's okay with it. He's gonna give me something in writing. But I just found out something from Paul recently that I'm gonna revise the MOU due to some additional funds that may come in, but I'll let Paul talk about the overall relationship we're looking to form and the collaboration on the course. So with that,
Absolutely.
Paul.
Thank you for having me. You probably know this, but the Connecticut Sun, the WNBA team, has been in Connecticut and played at Mohegan Arena for the past 20 years or so. Also may have noticed that the interest in women's professional sports and investment has grown significantly over the past few years. And one of those byproducts is increased sponsorship investment. And this past year, we contracted with a group called Blue Forge Alliance, which is a recruitment agency for the submarine industry. So it's not just General Dynamics EB, it's all the suppliers and vendors to the submarine manufacturing industry. And as part of the partnership, they'll do some things promotionally at Mohegan with our fans, but they asked at the top of the list in the terms of the contract that we develop and revitalize a community court together. And so using a decent amount of the proceeds of the sponsorship investment, we're proposing that we invest in Washington Park. Groton is very close to home, not just because of the arena, but our players train at a place called Progression Training on Leonard Drive. Our head of player development and his wife, who also works for the Sun, live in Groton. And as soon as I came to them and said, we need a place, they said Washington Park should be the place. Not just based on the basketball, there's already kids playing basketball today on my way in, but that also, Mary reminded us of the concert series. So really, great exposure for us, great exposure for this Blue Forge Alliance. And so, as Mary and Keith had mentioned, we've been talking for a month or so now about making this happen. The requirements from them is they'd like to get that exposure, some branding on the court, painting our logo, painting their logo, and then painting the City of Groton logo onto the court. And the funding that we've proposed is a first-year investment out of our operating budget is $60,000. And then for years 2 and 3, which is how long the relationship is with the sponsor, we do an additional $25,000 a year for maintenance and upkeep.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to say thank you. I know we talk about this in all of our departments. Grant funding or partnership funding is always great because it essentially saves us taxpayer money. So I always like to remind our residents how hard our department heads work to try to find funding in other places because our basketball court does need to be redone. So it's very timely also for us. It could use some sprucing up, so, and I know I've heard that from people before, so the timing of it is really good, and as soon as I saw this come through, I thought, what a great idea, and I think this location is perfect, right next to the subbase, and it makes a lot of sense. So I just want to thank all three of you for putting this together, because I think it's a really good initiative for the city, and I think our residents will really like it.
Thank you. Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, thank you. As someone who has played on this court many times in my lifetime, and certainly recommended renovation, revitalization of this court. What I was thinking, because we had planned initially for possibly ARPA money to go into the court at one time. Now, how is that going to affect the ARPA, or is this now going to be exclusively through Mohegan, through the Connecticut Sun?
Okay. I was waiting on that to come up, or if not, I was going to bring it up. This project was authorized by the council through ARPA funding. The, Mary, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on this. The, basically reconstruction of the courts was going to be around $90,000. And so this amount here will not cover the full amount. The initial intent from the Sun was to come in and cover the whole amount, everything would be great, but it's just not going to work that way, right? Because you have to reconstruct the courts, and then the painting alone is around $30,000. So, but we think it's a good collaboration between the city of Groton and the Connecticut Sun. And so we do have money authorized, so it will be our project. So the city of Groton will own the project. The funding will come from ARPA funds and from these sources here. So there's two things that I'm gonna have to come, and we haven't put out the RFP yet, but there's two things. One, I'm gonna come to the council for the MOU, that's one. Second thing is, I'm gonna have to come to the council for the acceptance of the funds, right? Because anytime we accept anything from an outside agency, whether it's a picnic table that we've done before, or if it's funds, I have to bring it to the council. And we'll be doing that as well. So does that answer your question?
Yes, for that one. And my next one, I guess I see that the completion date is intended for June 1st. So how far, how quickly can we, I guess, get things started?
So let me answer that. Have you already submitted, you submitted the RFP for this, right? Already?
Ron, I've submitted it to Ron.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have an RFP written, and it is at UHAS's, Director UHAS's level at his desk. I have three other RFPs that are right now in line ahead of that. One is for the roof. One is for trees in the park that need to be cut so that we don't have dead trees falling on somebody's house. And then the third one is the demolition of the Costa House. So those three are in process now. Now that the budget is out, that's his number one focus is on those three, and then we'll bring this into the queue. I'll talk to him tomorrow to see how long he thinks he can open up the queue, because I do want to move this up quickly. I am going to ask the council if you're okay with this, moving this to mayor and council of next week. But I also need to, so Paul just came to me with, there's an additional $15,000 from General Dynamics, and we're looking to use that on the, for installation of new backboards. And then they would put their logo, General Dynamics, on the poles of the backboard. That's
The
accurate,
stanchions,
right?
yep.
Okay.
Yep, the
And
uprights.
so,
So you know how you have the pole and you have the stanchion that goes out that holds the
Right.
board? That arm, we put the General Dynamic. logo, so it would get it off the court. But they would be the ones supporting the cost of that, so that's kind of the ideal place for it to be.
What I didn't want was, I didn't want the court to be so busy that it looked like graffiti. Right? I wanted the court to be clear. If you look at what we provided you, you look at this, it's clear. It's got the Mohegan Sun, correction, Connecticut Sun logo. It has built submarines, and then it has Groton City history in the making. And then the backboards will now, the support arms for the backboards will now have something from electric boat, based on the fact that they're gonna they're gonna donate $15,000. Okay, so does that answer questions? Counselor Norris, thank you.
Thank you. First question, well, actually, I think this is a great community partnership, so thank you very much, Mohegan Sun and Director Hill for working on this. Real quick, so within what I'm reading, it talks about the city and Mohegan Sun will embark together on promoting a project. And I just want to know, what kind of things is Mohegan Sun expecting from us in terms of promotion? I mean, is it we're taking out an ad in the paper, or is it just social media? You know, is there a level of expectation there?
I would say beyond the publicity related to the launch of the court, you know, the ribbon cutting type participation and related, you know, communications to that, that is about it. We're looking to do the lion's share of the promotion from there, including running clinics on the court. And that Build Submarines will be doing some press and would want to be part of that ribbon cutting as well. But no paid advertising or anything along those lines, except as a collaborator to us as you see fit.
So the cities would not incur any additional cost in marketing or anything like that. We do our normal marketing, which is through Facebook, website, newsletter, those kinds of things that we do for any programs. But there's no expectation for anything special for this event.
So the last question is when it comes to maintenance, because is there a level of expectation for maintenance? For example, because I didn't see any detail, does Mohegan Sun expect that their logo is crystal clear and repainted every year during the time of the 3-year agreement, as well as after the end of the 3-year agreement, is there a continued expectation from Mohegan Sun that their logo will remain and or refreshed?
I would say we would expect, just because the term of the current deal is 3 years, that's how long we offer the maintenance funding, but that we would budget and expect to be here for you guys every year throughout, and also ensure that our brand standards are held up as well. So we'll be here beyond the 3 years.
But to answer your,
Can you repeat that, because I didn't quite understand. So
It's on.
the story I tell myself is that after the 3rd year or in year 2, the two parties get together and say, hey, Mohegan Sun is going to continue to give $10,000 a year towards repair and maintenance, or I kind of lost one.
Yeah, that's a reasonable expectation, that we are budgeted for $25,000 in years 2 and 3 devoted to maintenance, but that we'll be back at the table and talk to you about what a appropriate amount is for years 4 and beyond.
Is it possible to please write that in the contract?
At 10,000?
no, we have 25,000. We have 25,000 years. I'm not
I
ready.
meant for 4 years.
I'm not ready to go to 10,000 down the road. We don't know what it's gonna be. So Counselor Norris, let me answer it this way. So right now, this MOU is for 3 years. 60,000 for this year, 25 for the following 2 years. And then we're gonna need to we will need to renegotiate an MOU. If at that time, there is a decision that we're not gonna enter into another MOU, or there's no funding available, we'll go in there and we'll just blacktop it, you know, with a black coat, and it'll be back to what it looked like. Okay? That has been discussed. It's not the expectation, but I am not going to continue to maintain a basketball court to certain standards on the taxpayers' dime alone, right? It's a collaboration, and we will work together to maintain this relationship.
Thank you. I guess that's what I was aiming at is, will there at least be a gentleman's agreement that the conversation will circle back after year 3 in terms of a joint partnership? So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Anything else? Councilor Norris, anything else? Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot?
I think to Councilor Norris's point, in the MOU, under maintenance and oversight, it says, following the completion of the project, the city of Groton shall assume responsibility for the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of the revitalized basketball courts at Washington Park, period. So it doesn't say
Okay,
during the term of this contract, or, so I think that
where are you reading?
on number 4,
Okay.
it doesn't say that we'll maintain and upkeep the revitalized.
Okay, we can
Court.
change this to for the duration of this MOU. But you're right, we probably ought to be
More clear.
a little more specific in 4,
Okay.
so that the city does not incur obligation. I mean, we are intending to work together as a collaborative project.
Correct.
Can I just make one clarification on Councilor Norris's comments? It's not with the Mohegan Sun, it's with the Connecticut Sun.
Yeah,
That they're an
Yeah.
entity, an LLC connected to the tribe, not the casino.
got it.
Oops,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, can I just have one?
Go ahead, please.
I understand the whole agreement thing, but I do think that making it more clear,
Yep,
because that is something that I could see someone questioning, especially in this, season of funding projects that have ongoing maintenance and not thinking forward. A lot of municipalities are going through that right now, where they have agreed to a funding for a project with a collaborator, and then, at the end of the contract, no one figured out what they were going to
Yep.
do going forward, so now
Well,
budgets are
we could, I agree
stressed.
with you, sorry, my apologies. Yeah, we can make it more clear. I think if you read the end, it says, so the following completion of the project, the city of Groton shall assume responsibility for the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of the revitalized basketball courts at Washington Park, and then it says the Mohegan Sun will provide maintenance funding for 2 years as outlined. Or the Connecticut Sun, thank you.
You helped.
The,
I was like, maybe I had Connecticut, you had Mohegan, I just wanted to say.
so
That's what I have.
that the basketball team will provide maintenance funding for the 2 years as outlined. So we can revise this a little bit to be a little more clear on our obligation. That's a good point brought up by Councilor Norris and Deputy Mayor Depot. Anything else on this collaboration? Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you, and I'm really glad that it's going to involve our youth in the city. I'm really, really happy to see that. I think that'll be a win-win for sure. I'm all about the youth in the city and everywhere. And my other thing was going to be, before Council Norris came up, was the same thing about maintenance. And so just with that said, obviously, the renovation, refurbishing, or whatever we're going to call it per se, I'm sorry I didn't look at the right word. But with that said, so that obviously, because you guys are the experts, I mean, we're looking at the moving and they're bringing in the moving of the equipment for the concerts. So I'm assuming that this court will be much more elite than what we have and would be able to withstand all that, per se. Yeah, I figured that, I just wanted to. But thanks, Paul, for catching what I wanted to say.
Well, the other thing that this does is this markets a demographic that we don't have a lot of programming for, which is young women. And I think when this was first brought to me, that's one of the things that I saw that would help fill a void that we currently have in the city. So, anything else on this? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/15/2024.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to the parking ordinance revision. So let me get this started, and then I'll turn it over to the chief for the specifics. So this is currently an ordinance. The ordinance will come out of the mayor's office, but I asked the chief to take a look at our parking situation. We had resident parking and residential parking, and we had 1 hour parking and 3 hour parking and left-footed parking here and those kind of things. So I wanted to get all this resolved. So this is a phased approach. The first part is to look at the resident part of it, and then the second part will come with the council deciding which streets this is going to apply. What I am trying to do here is to get ahead of my parking situation that I have down at Electric Boat. So basically, what I asked the chief to do was put a pin in the big building where senior management is, draw a half-mile arc, and everything in there is going to be resident parking or residential parking. And there will be carve-outs for some business parking, but basically, if you don't have a pass, you don't get to park there with impunity. And what I'm trying to do is, we've had complaints from residents who have a couple issues. Electric Boat it's great to have them here. They are our number 2 taxpayer right now. They're about to be our number 1 in the near future, period. There are, however, challenges that workforce of that size brings. Part is, how do you get them in? How do you get them out? Where do you put them? And then the second part, so the parking is the one part, and the speeding and enforcement is another part. And we have a separate initiative that the chief's looking at on that as well. So with that, Chief, I'll turn this over to you for the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. So the mayor had me take a look at one section. So we're not looking to rewrite the entire parking permit or parking ordinance tonight or council meeting. What we are looking to do is reduce any of the confusion regarding the 2 residential designations that we had. One was residential parking permit, and the other one was residential only parking area. The only real difference between the two is one allowed visitors, the other one did not. And those visitors were dependent upon, were a 24-hour type permit that was issued, with the understanding that those individuals would then turn the permits back in again. In practicality, that doesn't work. So what we're going to do, the suggestion is that those 2 areas be combined. We just call it resident-only parking. Up to 3 permits would be issued per residence, and the areas around the city would be designated by the mayor and council. So the police department wouldn't do this. We enforce it, obviously, but all the designation areas would come from this body. The other thing, too, is under these 2 designations, under the residential parking permit only, there were 17 streets named, and then under the resident-only permit parking area, there are 6 streets named. So there's an imbalance as far as that is concerned. So I think what we do is, again, those 23 streets, and again, we can review that as part 2, which is what the mayor was alluding to. But in combining all this and just making it one type of residential parking, permit required, those 23 streets, if you decide to keep them, and additional, they can be added, would get put into the ordinance, and away we go with that one designation.
The other thing that we're going to start doing with all the ordinances that we're writing and that we're reviewing is we're removing fees and fines and everything else out of them. That will be captured in a resolution. And the reason being is it is easier to change a resolution than it is to change an ordinance. As you get into the first reading, second reading, the publishing of it, and things like that. So with that, I'll open the floor for questions. Deputy Mayor Depot.
So I'm very happy we're finally doing this. We've been talking about it for many years. Who will control the issuing of the permits?
So the police department will, under the current language, and again, you could change that, but under the current language, we handle the permits anyway. It comes out of the records department. That will continue, just because that's what the public is used to.
So if someone needs a permit, they can go right to the police station or call, or what's the
Right, so
appropriate
they come
procedure?
in, they fill out the paperwork. All permits are issued on an annual basis. There is a fee attached to it, as the mayor was saying. That'll be based on a fee schedule. That could change with the forthcoming year or thereafter. That would be put on a fee schedule, though, as opposed to be written into the ordinance. Right now, it's $20 per year. But if that cost was considered too much or needed to be increased, so reduction or increase, that can go into the fee schedule. And then those changes are made based on a resolution and not rewriting of the ordinance for $20.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
And then, so, if we're thinking of, so the streets all have to be approved by the council. Is that something that we plan to have in a committee of the whole, or are we planning to refer this to committee so that a committee can go through the nitty-gritty?
I haven't decided. What I was thinking was we presented at a committee of the whole with a map. But if council thinks that it should go to committee, it can go to committee, it can go to public safety for the initial vetting, and then go to the committee of the whole.
Under the ordinance, too, you can also accept public petition, a petition to approve a street that maybe not listed, but then you could bring that in as an independent decision based on that.
Well, because my thought was that I could see this getting into a lengthy conversation, and maybe some public participation that might lend itself better to starting at the committee level, I think.
Okay? Okay, I'm sorry, please continue.
No, that was just my thought.
Okay.
So
Then, next week, when we have our mayor and council meeting, not refer this ordinance, but refer the streets to review for application of this ordinance to public safety.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I just wanted to put it out there. I think that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
There
I'm
are
okay.
23 existing. I don't know if this is, like I said, this is going to be part 2. Maybe these are still applicable, that's fine. We can add to them, reduce them, whatever this body decides.
No, I agree with the deputy mayor. I think it's good to refer it to committee. We'll come in with a map and we'll see, because not all of the streets that are in that, in that resolution are right at Electric Boat. There's some additional ones
Correct.
in other parts of the city. So we'll look at this holistically. One, I want to look at it holistically. 2, but the reason I wanted to do this was to get the arms around the parking situation around Electric Boat. Because I've been discussing the parking situation with Electric Boat officials, and I've been getting answers, but not 100% where I'm comfortable. I have been working with different senators and congressmen to try to get money for Electric Boat for a parking garage, because I think we need a parking garage. If we could do that, that takes 1,000 cars, and that would make a dent. There are other things that Electric Boat's looking at, which is satellite sites and busing people in and things like that. There are a lot of things on the table, but I don't tend to be patient when it comes to those kind of things, because it's not considered a problem right now. I consider it a problem right now because we're gonna have it. So this is my attempt to address it and to get the appropriate attention where it needs to be. So that's why I want to get started with this. Any other questions or comments? Counselor Piazza.
So our intention right now is to refer next Monday to public safety. Is that correct? The Committee for Public Safety.
Let me be clear on what I'm going to recommend.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to approve this. You're ready to move this forward, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you to approve the ordinance, the initial approval of the ordinance. What I'm asking you to refer to committee is the list of the streets that this will then apply. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, out of that, when it goes to committee, what involvement would the community have in that in deciding it? I mean, how will that develop and round up to bring forward to council?
Well, the public is, those are open committees, open meetings. People can come, they'll see it, and the agenda's going to be out there, so people will be able to come and provide their input.
Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Just to clarify that, since I am the chair of public safety, my intention, not every committee meeting requires public comment or allows public comment. It is controlled by the chair of the committee. My intent is to solicit public comment and to provide a space for public comment at a committee meeting, which is not always how they operate, but for this specific topic, I do think that that is the right thing to do. So that's my intention. And I do plan to reach out to the mayor's executive assistant to get that on the Facebook page before we have a committee meeting so that people know that there's space for public comment, since that's not usually the case. I think we've done similar things with other topics where we've kind of created a workshop in the committee meeting. So that's probably what.
We can do that, and we can also let people know when we discuss it at the committee of the whole, so that they can come and watch. And then people are always welcome to, under citizens petitions in a mayor and council meeting for feedback. Okay. At this point, I do not intend to hold a public hearing on this. I think if we get the information out on Facebook and in a newsletter and things like that, that will be enough attention. Plus, the residents on these streets know that this is direction that I'm going. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Sorry, I just wanted to add also, if anyone does have any comments about this, they can feel free to email at any time, and we can add it to our list of opinions.
Absolutely.
So, because that will be helpful.
And Councilor Sheffield.
Should the resolution include those streets that are going to be listed? If we're going to bring something forward, if there's going to be specific streets, should they be listed in the motion? If that's
No.
going to be the case?
So there's two parts of this. The first part is this. That's the ordinance. And then the second part is the resolution, which lists specific streets. So there are specific streets now to which this applies. There may be additional streets based on the criteria that I've put in about putting the pin in a half-mile arc that will now need to be put in to the resolution. And that's where the Public Safety Committee can look at a map and look at the streets, and then through feedback from residents and discussion amongst themselves, make a recommendation, and then that comes to the committee of the whole, where the entire council gets to discuss, deliberate, and debate, and then we move forward. Counselor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. So the pin per se in half-mile radius, is that pin going to be at the main gate, 75 Eastern Point Road, or where's the pin actually sitting and going out half-mile? You said you're going to put a pin at a certain point and go half-mile out, correct?
Yep.
So where will that pin be sitting? Where's the origin of the pin? Am I not understanding that?
Well, I think I've answered it, but I'll answer it again.
Okay, thank you.
That big silver building, so basically that, not the main gate, but the south gate,
Up at the top
right
of the
across,
hill?
at the top of the hill.
Okay.
That's where my pin is. I mean, whether it's the main gate, the south gate, that building, you're only talking a couple hundred feet. But, and I'm doing a half-mile arc. And I recognize that that's going to cover a lot of area, but so the question that somebody may ask is, why'd you pick a half mile? Because that is a reasonable distance for people to park and walk. Right? I don't have people parking a mile and walking in. But a half mile, I do have people parking. I have received complaints from Morris, Hines, Smith, Ledyard, whoops, sorry, Thames, I'm using my hands. So I've taken all that into account. And that's, I've been monitoring this for a while, but all that input is what drove me to asking the chief to take a look at this. This got started under Chief Jenkins. And then when Chief Burton came on board, I said, hey, there's a lift, I want you to keep doing this. And Chief Burton picked it right up, and that's where we are. So, because he recognizes the importance of where we're going with this. Any other questions, or did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/15/2024.
So moved.
Second?
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chief.
thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, Sierra Bridge Street Gateway.
Good evening, everyone. So today I wanted to provide an update to you all about the Bridge Street Gateway. I am going to review the documentation that was shared with you, so I'll go through an overview, some attributes of the project. Then we'll talk about the timeline of kind of where this started and where we are today and potential next steps, and then our request. So the Bridge Street Gateway project is a road design and demonstration exercise. It is focused at the intersection of Bridge Street, I-95 on and off ramp, as well as North Street, Spicer Street, and Broad Street. The purpose of this project is for the city of Groton to lead a road design discussion and a community engagement process covering complete street design concepts as well as local and state improvements. So in essence, our role and what we're trying to do here is to work with our department heads, the state transportation organizations to design city roads for improvements, but also to test it and then to coordinate road improvements moving forward. Just a better system of the city actually documenting what that vision is for our roads and kind of how we plan and coordinate projects moving forward. So some of the project goals for this is to enhance pedestrian and bicycle safety through increased awareness of shared space. We would also like to enhance the gateway's sense of place upon arrival. We're looking to improve stormwater management at that intersection. I don't know if you guys ever been there when it's raining, but there's a lot of water that pools to the intersection, so that is something that we also want to take into consideration. We are looking to advance the planning discussion and assessment of the Bridge Street Gateway, but also the neighborhood. You guys are aware that our Planning and Zoning Commission is having a similar planning conversation about the actual development of that neighborhood, and so these conversations kind of go hand in hand. We are also looking to develop a flexible approach for the city to collaborate with our transportation organization. So how do we work with the Southeastern Council of Government on projects? How do we work with the state of Connecticut on actually implementing road improvements that are meaningful for our community members? We are also looking to introduce complete street design concepts and the use of tactical urbanism to test road designs, and using this temporary demonstration to evaluate potential larger scale projects. So it gives us an opportunity to test it, see what works, what doesn't work, and then that will kind of help us with budgeting and moving forward with actually identifying the best next steps. So, this project is a planning project. It is design, it is community engagement, and it all curtails around tactical urbanism. The objectives of this project is transportation improvements to sightline, user awareness, and to reduce conflict points. Also looking at pedestrian and bicycle improvements for safer crossings, also designated space for parking, and gateway placemaking. Placemaking will include things such as a welcome sign, banners, planters, and general landscaping of the area. As I mentioned before, the stormwater management, we are looking to identify an ideal location for a rain garden to kind of help, or rain garden or some type of green infrastructure that will help with that mitigation. And then from an economic development benefit, it is a traffic calming mechanism that also helps to enhance mixed-use development and actually build neighborhood character. Our project location is mainly within the public right-of-way, but it also impacts municipal property and state property. So a little bit about how we've gotten here. This project originally started in 2019. It stems from our plan of conservation and development. We took that POCD and did some community engagement to get some first assessments of what that intersection could look like. We hired BL in 2020 and came up with our first draft concept plan. We then used that concept plan to apply for an active transportation grant, which we received 2 of. That grant allowed us to work with Street Plans, which was a state preferred consultant at the time. And they helped us refresh the concept designs, so we updated it to a draft 2. We did a number of community engagements with the community and with staff, just in regards to complete street design and what that looks like, and actually planning and implementing that. So we had the draft 2 plans. We also used those plans to engage with staff to figure out what are some additional improvements. The city had a number of turnovers with the department heads, so we had to make sure we went through this plan over thoroughly with each new department head that came in to make sure we were dotting our I's and crossing all our T's with concerns that may be there. This is a first of its kind for the city of Groton, so we are trying to do our best to make sure we coordinate this properly. So in 2022, the focus was really to assess that draft 2 and come up with a final demonstration plan. That concept 3 plan is what you have in your packets. We started to plan and prep for that, but we've been able to connect with the state of Connecticut's Gold Star Bridge project team to coordinate what that Bridge Street on and off ramp, I-95 on and off ramp could potentially look like. So we are wanting to work with Street Plans and the state of Connecticut to further flesh out those designs and actually come up with a demonstration that will kind of get us closer to a shared goal from a local and state perspective of what improvements could potentially be there. I know I just threw a whole lot of information at you, and also want to leave a little bit open for Leslie, but our request here today is to request the bid waiver. We would like to continue to work with Street Plans. They have now done 2 iterations of a concept plan for this intersection. They have worked with multiple City of Groton staff members and community members to get us to these plans, and I think it will be a cost-effective and efficient way to move forward to actually get to a final demonstration concept plan, which we hope to implement shortly.
Okay, anything else? Okay,
A couple
well,
of things, but,
well, hold on, that's my job, not yours.
sorry,
Do you have anything else?
one other thing. Just wanted to be clear that the Street Plans is doing a test project, and this is something that allows us to do an installation that is a demonstration and allows us to tweak things. We literally can like move cones during the demonstration project, the time period of the project. It is a way of testing ideas and geometries beyond the computerized generated geometries to allow us to make sure that the project we're looking at is something that could work. We have total faith that they have all of the radii for the larger trucks and all of that. I'm not worried about that, but it allows us, if we find things that, for instance, cars going by a curb cut that's there now, that maybe we didn't look at and realize, maybe that curb cut's not really in the greatest place. Can we look at this in a different way? So that's one thing. It's an economical way. It's a way for the city to not spend money to do a project without testing it first. It's also been done in lots of places in the country, but in Connecticut, DPH has taken they authorize street plans as their consultant for these projects in different places within the state. I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, question or comments from the council? Deputy Mayor Depot?
Thank you, Mayor. So I know that this has been on our plate for a long time. What was do you know what the original budget for this project was?
This project didn't necessarily have an original budget. When I first was handed this, I think I was given about $15K to do the original concept plans, and then from there secured the active transportation grant twice to continue the design discussion as well as the community engagement. And so this will be my first time coming back since 2019 for funding from the city's side.
So in 2019, we authorized 15,000, you're saying?
Mhm.
And then how much were the grants that you,
I think they both totaled out to be 46,000. And I can get exact figures if needed.
so then this 15,000 is going to come out of your current operating budget?
Correct.
Was this in the plan for this operating budget? Is it because projects have shifted? How is this?
This project was always in the plan. Some things had to shift. There was a little glitch with some of our budgets in the beginning of this fiscal year, so that we did have to switch some things around, but we're on track now for it to move forward.
And then, so this 15,000 that's coming out of the operating budget, what is the next step after this?
The next step after this would be an actual demonstration of the proposed concepts. So to actually, for the implementation, and then for us to test that for however many months we agree on that test being there.
In the implementation, do you know what the cost of that is going to be, or about what the cost of that is going to be and where that money's coming from?
We are estimating that would be about $40K. It is right now negotiated where a consultant would do all of the implementation for it. We can negotiate further how the city could kind of help alleviate some of that, but that is currently planned for 40 to be pitched within the economic development fiscal budget for this coming up fiscal year.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Councilor Piazza?
Thank you. So, yay for continuing. And always updating those who are coming new in. And so my thing is, and excuse my ignorance on it, so this is why I'm asking. So when you're talking about planning and developing and implementation, so when they actually, Street Designs does this and does the implementation and the testing is via computer geometrics, as you were saying earlier, or is it a model? How do they actually test this?
The testing is, we will actually test this road design. The community will experience it for themselves and be able to provide feedback, live feedback, and we can change different things, but we get to physically test and touch and feel what a these improvements could look like.
Actually in the gateway
Actually
area?
at the gateway area.
Okay, all right, real live.
Real life.
All right.
Oh, and the other thing that I know you would love, some of the proposed areas where there are bump outs for curbs, we are hoping to do public art there, so working with the community for those potential spaces as well. So, yes.
Thank you.
Anything else, Counselor Sheffield?
Have we worked with street plans before on any project?
We've worked with them on this project, but it was funded through the active transportation grant.
So earlier on, Sierra said the reason we want to go with this is because we worked with them on 2 different projects. So we've used them twice before.
And what's our timetable, I guess, as far as when we want to officially get this off the ground?
So, well, depending on how the council decides, we would like to start immediately. I think now that we have, if we can get the consultants on board and we have that contact with the Connecticut DOT, that this is a good time for us to start, finalize those plans. And then as soon as we get those plans finalized, it may take a month or 2 or something, we'll move into the coordination of the actual demonstration. So within a year's time? Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to Mayor and Council meeting of 4/15/2024.
So moved?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, thank you, Sierra. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
have a good evening.
Thank you.
So I want to move to G, the donation request, Fleet Reserve. Fleet Reserve has asked for a $400 donation from the council. We provided you with this information at your desk to show what so the council is allowed $5,000 a year. And currently, this year, we're at $3,000. We did provide, for the last 1, 2, 3 years, we provided money for the Fleet Reserve. And so, if the council wants to accept this $400, we do have room. We've only spent $3,000. We are in the month of, thank you, in the month of April, so you have the rest of April, May, and then June. If you go back and look at historic, the ARC came in last year. The Mystic Falcons came in the year before, but they're currently being funded by Groton Utilities, I think. One of the things that we're trying to do too is not double book, for lack of a better term. So that's what the ask is. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to say I'm in support of this donation. They place flags for military members in the cemeteries, and last year, the Day paper did an article on it also, and, to help them pay for these flags, I think it's a good use of these funds that are intended to benefit the community, and I think they do that, so.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council of 4/15/2024.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, the last thing is H.O. Penn Machinery Company expenditure. So, as the acting director of Public Works, my first thing that I get to come to you with is an authorization of money that we've already spent. And what happened was, so there are a couple things. So if I'm gonna make a couple, let me go full here. So I was gonna bring this, if you go to your first sheet of supporting documentation, you'll see that I approved it on 3/12, because we incurred the cost, and therefore the city's gonna pay their bills. We were gonna put this on the, excuse me, the CAL, our most recent committee of the whole, and somehow there was miscommunication, and it did not get on the committee of the whole. And that's why I said I want to make sure it's on this committee of the whole. So now that I've done that, let me explain what happened. So we had an Caterpillar excavator that was exhibiting some problems, and they come in and they looked at it, and then when they started looking, they started digging and they found more problems. And then they found more problems, and they found more problems. So it wasn't like we were able to get a quote up front and then get permission from the council before the work was done. They started working on it. Next thing you know, it adds up. It is at $10,699.19. So it is just over, but it is over the $10,000 threshold, which requires coming to council. But this was an issue where they showed up and they troubleshot, they came back and they were doing testing and they had to troubleshoot some more. And that's all. If you have read the narrative, it's in here, you'll find that that's what was happening. And that's what happened here. So with that, I'll open up the questions. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I was just going to comment, I did read the whole narrative from the mechanics in here. And unlike some things that you would expect to be over this $10,000, it's obvious that there were different segments of things happening. So I understand why, it wasn't expected that you would need to bring this repair to us. Also, it is just over the limit. So while I usually express frustration when we have these, but to me, this is the example of a situation that makes sense. It wasn't really plausible to do that before incurring the fees because we had to get it fixed.
Well, and so this started, when did we start? The invoice date was 2/27, but they started, so 2/1/24. So this started before my tenure. I think it started before, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I was the DPW when the thing occurred, but one of the things that this brought to my light is who has authorization to incur expenditures. And I'm comfortable with where this was. Nobody exceeded their authority. None of the staff back in the Department of Public Works, they did a great job with this. We have great men and women that work back there. And it's just that, like I said, you've probably had repairs on your vehicle that you take to the dealer. And when they start working on it, they come up and say, hey, you need to have this done too. And the next thing you know, your repair is a little higher than what you expected. And that's what we come into here. Councilor Sheffield.
Has the work been completed, or do
Oh,
we
yeah.
anticipate? Okay.
Nope, it's done. It was done and we were invoiced. So if you go to your first sheet, the invoice date was 2/27. I approved the expenditure on 3/12. And then that's a GL number, the general ledger, thank you. General ledger account number. And that's when I started my discussion, how did we get here? So that work is completed. And, we did get a bill. I didn't want to get into a delay. And then, so I authorized the expenditure because it was a legitimate expenditure. We were going to have to pay it. I didn't want to get into overages and late fees and those kind of things, but I did know that I needed to bring this to council. I did talk to the finance director about this, and he said, you know, sometimes this happens. So, but I did want to make sure that I explained this to the council. Any other questions or comments? And I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of 4/15/2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, council, for coming out.